Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from 5 group. My name is Diana and my partners are Dewi Ayu Irawati and Trimay Sarah. So now we will explain about another approach in TEFL. So there are three TEFL. There are three approach in TEFL. The first is content-based approach. The second is whole language approach, and the last is literature-based approach. So in CBA or content-based approach that will explained by me. Well, CBA is a teaching approach that focuses on learning language through learning about something. So the students can choose the study that they want. Example, like if the students want to study about how to speak in hotel, so they can choose the study about that. And then in CBA or content-based approach, there are characteristics in CBA. There are three models. The first is theme-based programs. The second is sheltered programs. And the last is adjunct programs. So in adjunct programs, this is like ESP or English for specific purpose, which the students study English based their skills. CBA lesson can be approached following the steps. The first, preparation, and the last is the lesson. About the preparations, a subject of interest is chosen. And about the lesson, using small groups. Small groups that like 3 or 5 people in one group. Well, in every approach, there are advantages and disadvantages, of course. So in advantages in CBA, language learning becomes more interesting and motivating, and then it helps students develop valuable study skills such as note-taking, summarizing, and extracting key information from the text. So in CBA, the students should more active than teacher, and then the students should be independent. Next, about disadvantages in CBA. The first is overuse of native language can be a problem in some parts of the lesson. And then teacher must cooperate with other teacher like mathematics, social, science, arts, or etc. at the school. And then teacher and students have roles. So in teachers' roles, teacher have to help students to improve their skills, the students' skills. And then teacher to create learn-centered classrooms. And then the teacher must be knowledgeable. And then cooperability for most interesting. Next, about students' roles. So the students have to independent, like I said before. And then in the class, students have to expect it to support each other in collaborative of the learning process. So that's about CBA or content-based learning. The next material about whole language approach that will explained by Dewi Ayu Irawati.
Okay, thank you Diana for the chance and for inviting me to join this discussion. Now I would like to discuss the next approach called as whole language approach. Whole language approach is an approach used by teacher to teach language features such as grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, sentences, and so on in a whole integratedly, which aims to let students get perceptual knowledge and clear ideas about the text. It means that the whole language approach emphasize on students' understanding to the meaning of the context by less considering the form or rules of the text. There are 7 characteristics of class that using whole language approach. The first one is teaching language as a whole, such I have mentioned the definition before, and then student-centeredness, because students are given the freedom to choose the material and adjust the place of the study, and then teaching language in context to make a contextual comprehension practice for students, and then literature vastness, by using literature as resources instead of only scientific resources. Then focus on talk. It means that the speaking skill of students are also improved by through the activities such as retelling, group discussion and presentation, or performing the plot, and then integration with writing, because the whole language approach has aimed to improve students' ability in reading and writing something. And then the last one is informal assessment, where teacher assess students by looking at their attitude and development throughout the teaching learning process instead of by using scoring rubric as traditional approach. And then the example of class that using whole language approach, there are several activities that can be done in this class. The first one is students may read various narrative books, while they will fill the story grammar map of the story they have read, then retelling the story to other students in the class, while the others will give their feedback to the friend who deliver their story. Then they will write the summary or recitation of their students' explanation. Then students may create big book or portfolio with their friends in partner and show it into another students in the class. While the last one, they could completing the self-evaluation and report and reflective report, which is filled by students and teacher feedback and evaluation inside of the portfolio. Okay, there are several advantages and also disadvantages in applying this approach. The first one, we will discuss about the advantages. There are several. The first one is students will feel confident and comfort themselves, because the mistake or the error they make in this class will not be judged as a failure. And then students can learn by using authentic resources like book, magazine, newspapers, etc., which will interest them and grow up their motivation in learning. Then students are involved in writing activity related to the resources they chosen. Then the activity done by students focus on their experience and relevant activity related to daily life and needs. The last one is evaluation is based on students' development throughout the learning process. However, there are several disadvantages also. The first one, basic skills such grammar, spelling, vocabulary, or pronunciation are not taught intensely throughout the learning process. And then this approach may be difficult to be applied by unprofessional teacher who has less experience and creativity. The last one, there is lack of resources and references which discuss the whole language approach implementation. The last point discuss about teachers and students' roles in this approach. The first, we will mention teachers' role, such as stated by Richard and Rogers in 2002. Teacher has functioned as a facilitator and active participant, where teachers should create a fun atmosphere and negotiate with students related to the material they will discuss. While students' roles, they have role as a collaborator, where they have collaborate each other among students, teacher, and maybe the author of the resources or the book they have choose to be discussed. And they also has functioned as an evaluator to assess their own project along with teacher encouragement and guidance, while students are free to choose or to give their orientation related to the material they will discuss. Yeah. Okay, that is Glenn's explanation about the whole language approach. For further or deeper explanation about this approach, you may read our paper that we have sent to the group. Now, we move to the last approach called as literature-based approach, which will be discussed by my teammate Trimai Sarah. Trimai Sarah, time is yours.
Yeah. And the third, I will explain about the advantages and disadvantages of literature-based approach. First is advantages or benefits of this approach. First is improving student ability in critical reading significantly. The second is improving student achievement in reading skills. The third is enrich student insight through story they read, while it's also entertain and amuse students. And the fourth is enlarge student imagination while they can get a valuable experience. The fifth is invite students to understand social value in the story and make them think narratively to increase their writing ability. And the sixth is improving student fluency and vocabulary mastery. And after that, the disadvantages or the weaknesses of literature-based approach is first, teachers should manage the class properly to identify and choose appropriate book which is suitable with the student ability. The second is teachers should provide cross-cultural resources which fit student level, and the last or the third is lack of resources which appropriate with student development. I think that's all about my explanation. I'm sorry for many mistakes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The second is the characteristic of literature-based approach. The first characteristic is students should be informally and scientifically read and write in order to make them motivated or student motivated. The second is school should give daily activity which relate to literacy and let students interact widely through various kind of book. The third is teacher might guide students to read book frequently, where students can choose their favorite kind of book without considering the language, feature or grammatical rules which can distract their interest in reading. And the fourth of the last is questioning. It means that where the teacher give several questions to students frequently, which involves students to analyze, synthesize, and infer or higher order to ensure comprehend the topic properly. And after that, there are three types of literature-based instruction or approach which could be applied. The first is literature-based readers, and the second is the basalization of literature, and the third or the last is comprehensive literature program. In applying the third type, there are several activities done by teacher and students such mentioned below. The first is reading aloud program. The second is sustained silent reading. The third is group discussion. The fourth is cross-curriculum literature. The fifth is feedback toward the book. And the last or the sixth is fabricate activity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Trimai Sarah. I'm from Group 5 of Teaching English as a Foreign Language, and I am the third presenter, and I will explain about literature-based instruction or literature-based approach. Let's begin the presentation. First is what is literature-based instruction. Literature-based instruction is the type of instruction in which authors original, narrative, and expository works are used as the core for experiences to support children in developing literacy. The types of activities done with the literature are the natural types of things children and adults would do when reading and responding to any good book. For example, like it is natural when teachers share or talk about a good book after reading the book, and it is not natural when the children answer 10 questions after reading the book.